Today I'm going to talk a little bit about insurance, but not in the way a lot of people think. Hey, I'm Dr. Patty Barch. I'm a traditional naturopath, founder and owner of Naturally Unbridled Wellness and naturallyunbridled.com, where we focus on wellness solutions, not disease management. This is Down the Ridge with Dr. Patty. This is not medical advice. It's for entertainment purposes only. Nothing I say is true. Don't listen to me. Okay. I've mentioned this before. In April, I am speaking to a group of human resource professionals that are involved in the administration of healthcare benefits for local companies. So the way it works, and I don't claim to be an expert on all the nuances of these systems, but I can give you the gist of it and why it's in the interest of these local companies to ensure that they have a healthy workforce. So a lot of us are very familiar with these large insurance conglomerates, right? Things like Blue Cross Blue Shield. I haven't had insurance in I don't know how long, but like Cigna, and I don't know if that's still a thing, right? But these big corporate conglomerates, and these are the ones that people get furious because they'll deny a test that a doctor wants to have. They'll deny a drug that the doctor prescribed, right? And so there's all this animosity towards those conglomerates because people and employers pay a lot of money for these quote unquote benefits, and then they have more out of pocket than they get in benefits. So it's kind of a scam. But there's something that I wasn't familiar with this. Since we moved here, I learned about it. But what there is, some companies are big enough. They tend to be local companies, but they're big enough that they self-insure their employees and their dependents. So what that means is that these companies, rather than giving money to these conglomerates, they, let's say, put money in a savings account that they use to pay the medical bills for their employees. And they also negotiate contracts with local providers to provide services for their employees at a contracted rate. Now, in some instances, they take it even further and they open their own mini clinics for standard things like checkups, blood pressure, strep throat tests, that sort of stuff. But it's of all businesses, the ones who self-insure have the most understanding of the healthier we keep our employees, the lower our costs. Now, this actually applies to all businesses, but a lot of them just don't take that into consideration because it's not their money so much. They pay an amount to a conglomerate, and that conglomerate doles out bits and pieces here and there. But these companies have literally a vested interest in the health and wellness of their employees. Now, expand that. We have a society where lifestyle and environment, truly poor nutrition, lack of exercise, lack of sunlight, lack of fresh air, right? Inside too much, all of these things are contributing to our downward spiral of health outcomes, which leads to more expense for the employer. And just for example, we know that there are more and more and more people who have lifestyle related illnesses related to a sedentary lifestyle and or horrific, highly processed, high calorie, low nutrient foods. All of those things contributing to a poor state of health. And as I mentioned, like, the medical model tends to be disease management. Oh, you have increased blood pressure because your body mass has increased by 30% over what your body is built for. So your blood pressure had to go up in order to supply more blood to those areas. And, but we're just going to give you a blood pressure pill, and you've been eating a crappy diet and you have a lot of inflammation, your triglycerides are up, and your A1C is up, so we're going to give you metformin, and we're going to give you a statin drug, right? And so, like, every month the prescription, like, you got to refill that prescription, and then the person goes back to the doctor the next year, and the doctor's only asking questions relevant to the common prescriptions that they prescribe. And so it ends up that it's just like this pebble in a pond ripple effect where people just get sicker and sicker, and then they start having to miss work because they're not healthy, or because their immune system is so distracted by this other problem or this massive amount of inflammation that they're not able to fight off the next virus that comes around. So, what's the solution? Well, let's say wellness solutions, not disease management. There are natural ways to support the body, to restore the body back to balance, rather than to suppress a symptom that is the body's way of screaming for help. That something's really wrong. Here's a check engine light. May it be a lab test or a scan or a symptom, and the prescription just puts that light out. So the people who have the most to gain from a holistic perspective are these companies that self-insure, because it is much less expensive to, let's say, give $120 a month nutritional supplement stipend versus $1,000 a month for a weekly injectable that's going to, help you to get skinnier. In this presentation that I'm going to be doing for this private audience in April, I am going to be discussing the history of natural health, how the Carnegies and the Rockefellers funded a study by this man, Flexner, and how his biased report led to the elimination of the holistic modalities from medical school curriculum to focus exclusively on pharmaceutical drugs, because the Rockefellers and the Carnegies had a vested interest in selling these pharmaceutical drugs. I'm going to talk about the top 5 indications of things that people typically will get prescriptions for, weight, cardiovascular related issues, including high blood pressure and cholesterol. I'm going to talk about emotions and mental health. I can't remember what the other 2 are, but I'm going to lay it out of like why we are in a situation where all solutions are pharmaceutical, and that doesn't solve anything in most cases. I mean, obviously there are exceptions to every rule. But how it could actually save these companies a lot of money by actually helping their employees to get healthy versus to just treat their symptoms. So I'm hoping that these companies are realizing that even if they're skeptical of the holistic approach to health and wellness, that they'll come to this event and just receive some information, education. I've got some free gifts for these people as well. And then they can just ponder it afterwards and decide if they may be able to have a twofold outcome here, where their employees are healthier, therefore that saves their bottom line. They have less medical expenses and less employees missing work for themselves or for sick family members. And that they realize that, there's other ways to support the body that are less expensive and often more effective. Peace out, peeps. Have a healthy day and make healthy choices.